Seton Hall and the diocese don't allow professors and faculty at Seton Hall to unionize. It's just in their contract, you're not allowed to do that. We don't. We absolutely don't know more. We're also. No, you're all good. Also, we're listening to the advice of our elders. We had several small protests at basketball games at Seton Hall because that's where the money comes into the school. And from there, I had the opportunity of meeting an alumni who used to have a radio program at Seton Hall called Kujichagulia News. For those of you who don't know, Kujichagulia is the Swahili word for self-determination. After speaking with this alumni, he gave the Protect AFAM movement permission to continue his legacy. And I'll say within the next 2 weeks, we will be reviving Kujichagulia News in the form of a monthly newsletter. So if anyone's interested in that, feel free to give me your contact information. And yeah, we're here to connect with the community. And we're also planning on having larger demonstrations. We'll keep you all in the loop because we want to work with you. And if you have anything else that you need us to turn up for, let us know and we'll turn up. All power to the people.
Thank you, Trevor. Next, we're going to have a partner.
Thank you. Is it on? Thank you. I just wanted to comment, I didn't think I was going to talk, but I wanted to comment because of some other people who came and talked about, I think, pertinent issues. And I'm glad that people are beginning to, and I would encourage people to think about and look at the intersectionalities of racism, policing, economics, justice, education, and capitalism. Because a lot of these issues we look at, and sometimes we think that they're separate. Racism is happening here. We have issues with labor and unions on this other side, but they're actually part of the same, they're really part of the same entire effort and the status quo that happens here in the US. Policing, as you know, in its modern form, emerged from trigger alert slave catchers. These men turned into police officers, and from this small group emerged a costly, massive, expensive, modern institution of policing, as we know it and experience it, unfortunately. After emancipation, black codes emerged to replace the previous status quo, and then the Jim Crow South came around. After the black codes were repealed, we still had a system of segregation which achieved the same ends, not just racial ends. It's not just about races not getting along and not liking each other. There's multiple races in multiple nations. You don't see this in other nations. You don't see the same problems. There's a difference between not getting along and people getting shot in the street. Not getting along is something a society, a group can handle, right? It's not deadly, it's not lethal. It doesn't lead to poverty. It doesn't lead to injustice and inhumane behavior. It doesn't lead to hospitals that don't function right, schools that are, unconscionably poor. It's just people who don't get along, who don't talk when they pass each other. So why did it go so bad here in the US? And it's really because of its underpinnings. So anyway, after Jim Crow and the Jim Crow South, there was a system of segregation. And after that, it was replaced with a brand new name. Same ideas, same ethos, same effects, same institutions enforcing them, same guns pointed in the same direction, but it was called the battle against drugs. All the same actions, all the same sentiment, all the same ethos, all the same police presence that we see all the time, all the same attitude, right? Pointed at the same communities to criminalize. Before, it was criminal to get paid to work. It was criminal to learn to read and write. Then it was criminal to, be free and own land. Then it was criminal to vote. Then it became criminal to be in groups of 4. It was criminal to be seen after 6 o'clock. African Americans had to be inside after 6, and some other minorities too. And now you have the same things happening under the carte blanche system of the war against drugs. You can stop anyone, frisk anyone, invade everyone's personal rights, civil rights, your rights to peace in your residence. You can search a car, you can attack somebody, and always the same excuse. I thought I smelled marijuana. Now marijuana is legal, but you still have the same problems. They have given themselves a complete free hand, open hand to do whatever they want. They just named it something else. If it was truly a war on drugs, you would see it policed at the same rates in different communities. I've never seen a suburban community, I've never seen a Caucasian community policed with the war on drugs with the same tenacity, the same ferociousness, the same lethality, the same deadliness that you see in minority communities. And trust me, other people are doing drugs in other places. All of a sudden, when other people started doing it and it was different kind of drugs, then all of a sudden there was like, we need to put a face on drugs, we need billboards. Come on. There's other things going on. So again, the intersectionality of our system of justice. And underpinning all of this is and I really want people to see this, that this isn't a problem of racism in certain places. It's not systemic racism. It's racism systematized. Do you understand? It is not an institution that is plagued by racism. It is an institution that was made for racism. It was racism that actually was turned by the people in power into a building, into a funded police force, okay? Into lack of funding in schools, into a lack of funding. I really liked your comments about who built the nation. Over 50% of America's wealth at the time of, I want to say around 1700s, was in indentured people. Over half the wealth, for those who say, well, you know, some people built something, but not really. No, actually it was over half. Over half of the U.S. was built by forced labor, after the largest forced migration in all of history, which is about 13 million people. That's a lot of unpaid labor. That's theft. That's theft. Under any normal justice system, and under white justice system, under the Caucasian justice law, that is theft. People go to jail for stealing a $3, $8 item for the store, and they will lock them up for years. But that theft, let's not look there. And underneath this all is, I think, a combination of racism, but also capitalism. And when you look into it a little deeper, you see that capitalism, to some extent, not capitalism, I think, in its pure form, but capitalism as you know it now, it rests on racism. It cannot, the capitalist class cannot be built if you do not have an underclass to build it on. The same thing with the morality issues, right? You can't have good people if you don't have bad people. So a certain group of people always have to be the bad people. Often they're the same as the poor people or those who are disadvantaged. And here in America, it's very much tied to race. You can't have good people without bad people, right? You can't have that capitalist class without an underclass to support it, to justify it. The rules are here, the laws are here. Keel and I have had long discussions about this. You know, we need to change the laws and legislation. No, this legislation has been on the books since the Constitution, right? All of us are created equal with inalienable rights, but they're never exercised. And again, it comes to our underfunding, not of justice, but to justice for minorities. Everybody else is funded, by the way. They have plenty of funding, but it always goes to certain groups, because the truth is capitalism is meant to maintain a status quo, mostly aimed at certain racial group and at a economic group. It is a private force. Policing is a private force. They have always been private guards. Their role is to defend Caucasians, and their role is to defend those who have certain means. It has always been that. Sometimes people who are rich and white, sometimes white who aren't rich, but it has always been that. So it's not just racism, it's also all these intersections. And I also appreciate the students' comments. You see it in education as well. So be looking for the intersectionality about how all these come together. Lack of education leads to poverty, leads to lack of justice, leads to further racism, leads to further lack of education, further poverty. And it's all built to maintain itself, and it's on us to kind of break some of those structures, right? Break it wherever you can. But we can't just take racism out of institutions. We have to look deeper. Why is this system sustaining stuff? Why don't certain people ever have the money to fight in court? So look at everything. I mean, I just encourage people, my personal take, look at things together. Look at how this all intersects. We can't change people and make them stop being racist. You can still be racist and treat somebody fair, right? You can still not like somebody, but still not attack them or kill them or shoot them. And we might not be able to get people to stop being racist, but we can take it out of how we deal with each other in public. which means in our systems of education, in justice, and in our economics. So, and that's it. Thank you, and keep going. Make sure this is not a moment; it's a movement. Join the NAACP, join POP, wherever you can. Get on social media. Keep spreading this, because we are not just fighting racism, police brutality, poverty, lack of education. This is all part of the same thing. And if it goes on far enough, it's not just going to be capitalism, it's going to be fascism. Where we have an even smaller group of people that control it for everybody. How did this happen? How did a majority ever become an effective minority? Because it was made that way. Look at every place where you can fight that, help that, change that. And votes. Vote, vote, vote. Thank you.
Power to the people. Power to the people. We have an exercise, right? I need everybody to breathe right now. Deep, go. Breathe again, deep. One more time. Breathe deep. I want you to say, I am.
I am.
I can.
I can.
I must.
I must.
I got another exercise. You know how you see some people, they want to shut their mouths when it's time for them to speak and don't know when not to talk? But instead of putting our fingers near our mouth and being quiet, can you put your finger up like this? Please, benefit. I want you to take that finger and I want you to put it over to either side of your face, near your ear, like Malcolm X. Think. That's a sign body language to think. These days and times, you can move your hand, your finger. I wanted to do that so we can catch our breath and slow down our thoughts so that we can see and be more self-aware and to think. They already have murdered so many of our leaders. Assassination, April 4th, Martin Luther King, Malcolm, Marcus, Michael. Bottom line is, each generation must repurchase its freedom, but we're out here doing what we need to do, but we must go home. Start off with ourselves, then our children, then our legacy on down, and then outside. We march. Go home and start with yourself to do things a little bit better so that when things come towards you that's designed to snuff you out or to roll back times with laws, when it's time to come out and bring those young people. Each generation must repurchase its freedom. I saw a lot of young people downtown. I told them put the fists up, you know, power, right? Some responded, but I told them, it's their turn.
Right.
Saturdays, right? Saturdays, what, 12? Broader Market. Bring your young people out, your neighbors. Bring one person so they can go tell their friends. It's cool to be free.
Yes.
It's cool to be free.
Yes.
So they don't, in school, advocate for leadership and thinkers. That's the problem. Please do our part to develop whatever we can in our family, in our environments, to teach the next generation, our loved ones, and then you expand out. How to be leaders. How to be leaders. And to think. Thinkers. Oh, I want to do my homework. Oh, let me push the button. Oh, let me listen to the information that they give us. Gone are the days that information comes to you. You must discern. Those words are not even moved around in our household, even for ourselves. Listen, discipline. Discipline. Show up when nobody shows up for you. Believe in yourself when nobody believes in you. Don't be so loud about your dreams because they try to kill it every time. But As this sign says, Martin Luther King, his struggle continues. His struggle is our struggle. May we all free ourselves. Do not be afraid to be free. Peace and blessings. Power to the people.
Power to the people.
Be thinkers, doers, and stop playing ourselves.
That's right. That's right.
Power to the people. That's Rod Jackson, BASA News. Good night.
That's